Russia continues to creep forward in Bakhmut. But are Russian MilBloggers worried about something else? And maybe Russia is actually listening to them. I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's March 20th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update. Let's get into it. Okay, first, when we look at the control map, you guys can see that there is a considerable, well, not considerable, but there are changes in a number of areas. First, you can see Russian forces advancing eastward through Bakhmut, which, again, I mean, sort of makes sense. You have to close off these salients and establish a solid front line. You can literally see the math doesn't work out, right? Like if you're trying to man a front line, this is a long front line to occupy really just a few hundred meters of city. So if you can close this big gap, right, you can replace this large line of contact with a much smaller, more elegant line, and therefore a fewer number of troops, which will allow more troops to be available for offense. So but you can see they're also advancing westward here, which again is increasing the pressure on this 503 highway. And is not great news for Ukrainian forces who are really fighting to keep it open. You can see as well they've advanced across an open field here, not really bringing them any closer per se to this key highway or Avansky, but still reflects some movement in the line of control. And in the north, you can see, again, Russian forces expanding outward, trying to grow this northern prong. It seems like they have a very simple but effective strategy of trying to push this envelopment effort in the south, in the north, and continue to press from the north and south within the city of Bakhmut. A lot of Russian forces are almost certainly committed to this, and it seems like a sprinter who is reaching the end of their marathon, or better thought of as like a first-time marathon runner is a better analogy. As they get deeper into the race and more exhausted, you see them take more and more frequent breaks. And that should be taken as a sign, again, that their ability to generate continuous combat power, replace losses, keep troops fed and properly equipped is diminishing. But again, not diminishing in a way that is stopping them, right? You cannot deny the fact that Russian forces have been the only ones making advances for the better part of the month of March. When we look at the combat map, you can see, interestingly enough, we now are below the 70 mark in terms of daily Russian attacks, which is, again, the intensity of the attacks is in some ways more frequent. But you can see here, Avdiivka is actually under considerable pressure. Very quietly, it seems that Russian forces have taken the Bakhmut playbook and are running it in the city of Avdiivka. You can see this northern flank has actually pushed enough that one of the main rail routes out of Avdiivka is under pressure. In fact, it's what the UK Ministry of Defense points out in its daily update brief today. And when you zoom in, you can see that there are still routes readily available out of the city. But again, it's pretty tough when you have these rural cities that outside of the urban area become fairly open terrain. And that itself is sort of worrying. And when you look at the actual analysis, you can see with this northern road line cut off, what you're left with is basically everyone has to pass through this Lastochichne, and Orlivka. So this 542 road is basically your way out. You've got to get to Orlivka, and then you can move troops. You have a little more flexibility of action in terms of potential routes out. But this is sort of the danger of these urban cities in highly rural areas, is that they're vulnerable to these envelopments. And it looks like even the DNR, who is notorious for its questionable training and questionable leadership, has figured out that this is the way to go. And you can see of their limited volume of attacks, they're really being focused in Avdiivka, in Bakhmut, and of course, just a light sort of a smattering of offensive actions along Crimean linemen. Interesting to see that, again, after months literally of me saying that Russian forces don't appear to understand economy of force, they are, having exhausted the quantity, they are forced to learn at least a little bit about economy of force, which is not great news for Ukraine, to be clear. But again, they may not have learned the lesson. The lesson may be being forced onto them because they literally may not have the combat power to launch the desired volume of offensive operations. Now, what I want to point out, what I thought was really interesting, is a little bit of additional information on Putin's visit yesterday to Mariupol. Now, sure, it was a sign of Putin's commitment to his maximalist goals. He's trying to legitimize Mariupol as the capital of Russia's annexed Zaporizhzhia. But there's more to it than that. And interestingly enough, ISW actually is reporting that let's see if we can find it here. Here we go. The MilBloggers, the Russian MilBlogger community, almost to a person, has said that Ukrainian forces, right, they're reporting on Ukrainian forces conducting a limited and localized counterattack near this Novodanyelivka. And when we look on the map, we can see that this is actually right around, let's see if we can find it here. It should be either on the road to Mariupol or on the road to Melitopol. But let's see. Let's do a little searching. Probably right here. Probably not right there. Probably not there either. There you go. Yeah, exactly. That's sort of where I thought it was. Okay. The point is, why would they focus on a localized counterattack? Well, the reason is because they really, really believe the same thing that I do, which is that the best place for a future counteroffensive is Zaporizhzhia Oblast. And they have been talking about this since October. And they actually speculated that the Ukrainians would symbolically launch their offensive on the day of Putin's visit as a sort of slap in the face to Uncle Vladdy. But I agree with them. The terrain operationally, there's a clear winner in where if you could delete, if I could delete 300 or 400 or a few hundred square miles of Russian-held territory, it would go from here to here, from basically this reservoir to south of Melitopol. Why? Because this would sever Russia's ability to move troops from Crimea and occupied Kherson Oblast to the main areas of the front line. And it would create a strong defensive line that Ukraine could then go and exploit, turning the enemy into and forcing them out. And as this area becomes liberated, you can see as they liberate terrain, there is no chance of a counterattack. That's not the case in Kharkiv Oblast, where Russian forces could get forced into Russia, where they are under no threat and can refit and relaunch attacks across the border. So, that's just not the case here. And, it's the analysis that I have found independently. These Russian MilBlogger analysts have come to the exact same conclusion. And it's possible that Putin's visit to Mariupol actually reflects is a morale builder for Russian troops stationed there, a reminder of the importance of their function, and a reflection of the fact that Russia itself is signaling to Ukraine, hey, we know that you're eyeing Mariupol for this offensive. And it's saying, I know that you are trying to do this. So It's a way of saying, it may be signaling that, hey, Russia is waiting for you. It's a fascinating sort of signaling game that is actually really common in combat, much more so than you might think. Von Clausewitz said, war is just politics by other means. And it's true, right? This sort of signaling device of Putin's visit to Mariupol could signal, again, the need to defend this region of Zaporizhzhia, which is identified by almost all sides as being valuable and vulnerable. Anyway, guys, of course, if I have been canceled on Patreon, booted off, but that's okay. I have launched my own site, combatvetnews.com, and combatvetnews.com is great because it has all of my YouTube videos. It has all of my exclusive Patreon videos. I'll show you the site here. So as you can see, it's got my daily update for free. And then if you become a member, you can access the members-only content where I do frequent breakdowns of the uncensored combat videos that I can't show you on YouTube. Whether it's trench clearing, mech infantry, combine arms, GoPro footage, drone footage. Again, it gives us an insight into the war on the ground that you just can't get through any other platform. And YouTube won't let me show it. Patreon decided I can't show it, but you can join, become a member today, support what I do, keep me in doing this every single day for you guys, and get access to my exclusive breakdowns of this combat footage. Link is in the description. Thank you to all my supporters. We're working on getting the lieutenant and colonel tier thank you screen up. But until next time, I'll see you guys in the next one.